I'm Caity Massoud, and this is Flute Unscripted, candid conversations with musicians, makers, and masters. I sit down with a new artist every week and share their uncensored stories with you. You're listening to Season 1, brought to you by Flute Center of New York, the exclusive marketplace for flutes. Join us and subscribe, and please stay tuned to the end of the episode for a special Flute Center of New York code for our podcast listeners. Nicola Mazzanti considers himself to be an advocate for the piccolo as a solo voice. He holds the position of piccolo in the Orchestra del Maggio Musicale Fiorentino, a seat he has held since 1988, and he performs as an orchestral musician, chamber musician, and soloist around the world. In 2014, Mazzanti published his method book for piccolo entitled The Mazzanti Method. The method is a guide for piccolo players in their daily commitment to the instrument. He continues to teach young piccolo players in seminars and masterclasses in Italy and abroad, and joined me after his Flute Center of New York Masterclass to discuss the merits of piccolo playing. Thank you so much for coming today and being with us. You're giving a masterclass, which is wonderful, at our Flute Center here. You're really busy. You're always all over the world, all over the country, giving masterclasses and teaching. Can you talk a little bit more about your teaching and why you love to travel around and give masterclasses?
Yes, I love to teach. I love to teach the piccolo because sometimes I have a personal approach to this small instrument, but I devote all my life in this small instrument. I think that it deserves a great consideration, because if you practice it in a good system, in a good way, I think that not only it is good for your flutism too, but it could be a very musical instrument with a different color, different dynamics, and it is a difficult instrument. It's difficult for the intonation, for the intonation related with the dynamic. And so I think that you have to practice, anyone that want to become a piccolist must practice very hard.
Is that the secret, you think, to piccolo? I mean, many flutists are discouraged, I think, from picking up the piccolo and practicing consistently because it is so challenging. Is there any secret that we should all know about to be masters of the piccolo?
I think that the best secret is to love it. I loved, and I still love, the piccolo. So this is my passion, and for me it is not tiring to practice piccolo even for 3-4 hours.
Oh, wow. So just piccolo alone for 3 or 4 hours.
Exactly.
What do you recommend for someone that's trying to build up their piccolo chops? They want to practice consistently on piccolo. Is there a good amount of time to be practicing piccolo every day if you're adding it in addition to your flute practice?
As any friendship, you have to have a good relation, daily relation with the piccolo. Maybe sometimes you need only 10 minutes, or you have only 10-15 minutes, maybe more. But the best way is to practice every way, on daily basis. I like to play some easy melody, but with a great expression.
A lot of people use alternate fingerings on the piccolo. Do you advocate that, or do you use traditional fingerings from the flute onto the piccolo?
Yeah, I use very rarely the alternative fingering. Sometimes they are important. And because the piccolo is far to be a perfect instrument, and sometimes, especially in some note, for the intonation, or even because they are very hard to play, some alternative fingering are good. But the alternative fingering must not to be a short way to avoid practicing or to avoid the gymnastic of
no
of the
shortcuts.
fingers. Exactly.
Yeah. Got to put in the hard work first. Another challenge with piccolo playing is hearing loss. Do you use... Yeah, I know. I didn't use earplugs for a long time, and I wish that I did, and I do now. Have you always used earplugs, or do you use them at all? One ear, both ears?
I'm lucky. I have a very resistant ears. I mean, at my age, after to practice hours a day, after teaching piccolo hours a day, and normal activity in the orchestra, I have a good hearing related with my age, but it is good. And I use the earplugs very in some occasion. When, for example, when I practice the third octave, passage in the third octave, or scales and so on. But
what about in rehearsal? Do you use them in rehearsals at all with
in
orchestra?
the orchestra?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I don't use them because
I feel like it's hard to hear yourself in the group and hear the group with earplugs.
With the earplugs, I have a strange reaction. I fell asleep. Immediately I relaxed immediately, and I relaxed myself immediately, and no, I cannot use it.
So you took a nap in rehearsal?
Exactly. And it is too strange.
Yeah.
I haven't used it, but this is not a general rule.
Right.
Some people has a very sensitive hearing, so my recommendation is to protect the ears according with the needs, according with the acoustic of the room. For example, if you play in with a great acoustic, with great resonance in the room, I suggest you to protect yourself.
And what has your experience been having different conductors? I mean, there's many guest conductors that you have passed through. Do you feel that a conductor changes the way the orchestra reacts to the music? Do you think it draws out certain characteristics of the orchestra? Do you play differently for every guest that comes?
I was lucky enough to play under the baton of the most important conductor. My orchestra was one of the most important orchestras in Europe. For example, 15, 20 years ago, if you compare the guest conductor in our orchestra was quite the same as the guest conductors in the Berliner Philharmoniker season. So I played with the most important conductors. And I think that they were and are great artists, and they gave me personally and all the orchestra a great lesson of music. So any conductor can have a different approach, and can have a different idea about the sound. Even with the piccolo, some conductors want that I play very, very soft. Other quite loud and quite over the sound of the orchestra. They were different, and I learned a lot playing in different style, in different ways, and I think that it was a great musical lesson.
Do you have any favorite memories, favorite moments?
Oh, I have a lot of great memories with Zubin Mehta. He was our principal conductor for 34 years. A lot for that. And with Claudia Bado, I played, for example, a great Falstaff by Verdi, and even Simon Boccanegra. And I remember the 3 months before he died, I played a fantastic symphony by Berlioz with him. And so, but even with Riccardo Muti, with the Prêtre, with Ozawa, Sergei Ozawa, a lot. I have a lot of memories, and that I cannot name them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Your orchestra plays a lot of major orchestral works and operatic.
Yeah.
What do you think are the benefits of playing that kind of versatile repertoire and including that in your orchestral repertoire when you're practicing?
In Italy, we have it's a small country. Italy is a small country if you compare with the United States.
Yeah.
But we have 14 state opera houses. So the operatic repertoire is very important. Is our tradition. The Italian opera is very famous, and I love it. And so I think the technical passage in the operatic opera is not so different in the symphonic repertoire, but I think that the opera can teach you to think more in a singing style. Even some technical passages in the Piccolo, with the Piccolo. But anytime that you play one orchestral excerpt, you have to know very well the aria in this case. So even this exercise to memorize the arias and so on is very good for your culture and your richness.
What was it like for you growing up as a musician in Italy?
I think that it was good. I was lucky to have a good teacher, not famous teacher, but good, with a good idea of the sound, of the flexibility. And when I was 17, 18, 20, when I was a teenager, to go to learn flute in France, for example, or in Germany, was quite a dream. It was very expensive, and now it is quite normal. And people come in Italy for from the abroad. So I think that now we are in a small village for that. Even the internet and
Skype
YouTube
lessons.
and so on, you can immediately search for an American artist or a German or Italian and so on. So it's very difficult to find the differences. We Italians had a very special talent for the singing. Yes, this was true. Now I cannot find it anymore.
Right. You also talk about after you went to school, you went back to pursue a degree in music history.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Why did you do so? And do you think it helps you as an artist?
Yeah. In Italy at the time, there are two different systems, the university system and the conservatory system. So you can attend a conservatory and the university at the same time. So I have a degree in the conservatory and I have a degree in the university. In the conservatory, in the flute, and in the university in the matter of music, especially in the history of music. I love to have a culture preparation. Even now, I think for example, we are playing all the Shostakovich symphonies, a very hard work for the piccolists.
Yes.
And I love to read books and stories about Shostakovich, his works and so on. I love. And then I think that more you know, more you feel. You know, the culture could be a great richness for your feeling, for your expression, for your playing.
Yeah, it also helps you get out of the written music a little bit.
Exactly.
And connect with the story, the meaning behind the music. The Vivaldi Piccolo Concertos, an extremely popular piece for auditions, especially the second movement. I'm sure you've heard it a lot, people playing for lessons, masterclasses, seminars with you. What is something that you like to listen for when you hear that piece that that excites you, that sounds exceptional?
Vivaldi is quite an X-ray machine to see exactly how one player is good or not, for the articulation, for the intonation, for the very good musical idea, and so on. The second movement, it is very good for that. The fifth, the E-B, E-G-B, but E-B is very, immediately can see if one player has a good sense of intonation or not.
Sure.
So the only thing that you have to use your fantasy, because the Baroque music permit that, but at the same time you have to be consistent, because an audition is not for a great Vivaldi artist. It's for a piccolist.
Right.
So you have to demonstrate to be in
you're
tune,
a strong player,
to have a great dynamic. So you have to play in style. Yes, in style, but you have to demonstrate even your piccolo playing.
Right.
So, for example, the dynamics, in my opinion, are very important. So some people say, "Oh, this is not in style." Yes, the right style not include. Doesn't include the piccolo.
Right. When it comes to successfully executing proficiency and expression on piccolo, Nicola Mazzanti admits that he is his toughest critic. Even with great success, there are setbacks, and we have to accept that each performance can vary. Mr. Mazzanti shares with me how to cope with pressure, failure, and perfection. Have you ever had any setbacks, any failures?
Generally, I am not satisfied of my playing.
Your toughest critic?
Yeah, exactly. And anytime that I can find something that is wrong or so on, and sometimes I played very bad. But I think that there is not a perfect playing. There is a good playing in that moment. Maybe when people is very tired, some people is distracted by some personal problem, and I was. And so sometimes they perform, and you have to play in that moment because your contract, your occasion is that. Most of the time, I can have the right concentration to be completely out of my problem. Sometimes I cannot. So I'm human.
Yeah. One last question. Where do you think the future of classical music is going?
Oh,
it's a big one.
It's the biggest one. I think that we are going to a fusion between the different styles, even the rock or pop or jazz or even other kind of music can have a good contamination and can give richness to the called classical music.
Is that why it's important to collaborate with new composers? You do that as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And any one of them has a different idea of the classical music.
Right.
No? One of my friend, Alessandro Cavicchi, is writing an Piccolo concerto. I will premiere it on 10th of May, next May, and inspired from the Bernstein music, but the Bernstein more pop music or about the musicals, that West Side Story and so on. It is a good for me. It is very
exciting
and very, very good.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today and for talking with me. It's been a pleasure.
It was my pleasure, and I am very happy to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Mazzanti is a proponent of new music for the piccolo and continually performs and records contemporary works. You can hear his performances on some of his latest albums entitled A Night with the Piccolo and The Crazy Acrobat. As for me, I'm going to pick up my method book and get in my 15 minutes a day of dedicated piccolo practice. Thank you to Nicola Mazzanti and to Mike Mower for use of his sonata for piccolo and piano. Other music featured include Chaminade's Serenade aux Étoiles. This has been an episode of Flute Unscripted. This podcast is sponsored by the Flute Center of New York. Visit their website at flutesforsale.com for the largest selection of new and pre-owned instruments. Use this season's promo code LISTEN for a special deal of $50 off any purchase of $4.99 or more. You can follow the Flute Center on Instagram and like them on Facebook to stay up to date on the latest events and masterclasses. Special thanks to our owner Phil Unger, the Flute Center team, and Stefan Huskoldson for our theme music.